Welcome to the realm where tales weave the fabric of our lives. From the tender whispers of bedtime stories that cradle our childhood dreams, to the grand epics that echo through the ages, stories are the heartbeat of our existence. They are the invisible threads that connect us, the whispers of love and courage that ignite our spirits. Here, every story is a journey, a dance of words that promises to touch your soul and awaken the dreamer within. So settle in, dear listener, for a tale that will transport you to worlds unseen, to adventures untold. This is where magic begins. This is where you belong, storm-bound. The unseen forces shaping our destiny. Prologue. In the heart of Norway's rugged wilderness, where the mountains claw at the heavens, and the sea churns with ancient secrets, there lies a phenomenon as enigmatic as it is terrifying. Maelstrom. A whirlpool of colossal force. It has swallowed ships whole, dragging them into the abyss where no light dares to follow. But what if the key to understanding the greatest mysteries of our world lies within its deadly grasp? What secrets does the Maelstrom hold in its watery depths? Could it be a gateway to understanding the forces that shape our planet? Or is it merely a natural destroyer, indifferent to the fates it seals? And what of those who dare to confront it? What drives a person to face such peril? And what wisdom, if any, can be gleaned from the brink of oblivion? Meet Elara, a climatologist with a burning question that could redefine humanity's relationship with nature. Can the very storm that threatens to consume us also be the one to reveal the Earth's most profound truths? As she stands on the precipice of discovery, we must ask ourselves, how far would we go in the pursuit of knowledge? And at what cost? Join us on a journey into the heart of the storm, where the line between survival and annihilation is as thin as the veil between understanding and madness. This is not just a tale of adventure, it is a testament to the human spirit's unyielding quest for answers in a world that is, by its very nature, beyond our control. Elara gazed up at the towering expanse of rock and ice that was Mount Fjell, a colossal guardian standing between the earth and the heavens. The Norwegian mountain, known for its treacherous paths and the legends that haunted its snow-covered peaks, was a climatologist's dream and a mountaineer's challenge. Today, it was Elara's canvas, her laboratory, her adversary. The sea stretched out below, a vast canvas of blues and greens. Meeting the base of the mountain in a tumultuous embrace, the air was crisp, filled with the scent of pine and the distant salt of the sea, a fragrance that spoke of ancient lands and timeless adventures. Elara was not alone in her ascent. A group of local mountaineers, rugged and weathered like the cliffs they climbed, had taken notice of her. They approached with caution, their eyes reflecting a blend of curiosity and concern. "You seek the summit?" one of them asked, his voice a deep rumble like the mountain itself. "I seek understanding," Elara replied, her voice steady despite the flutter of excitement in her chest. "The Maelstrom's impact on our climate is a puzzle I intend to solve." The mountaineers exchanged glances, their expressions turning solemn. "Many have sought to conquer Fjell," the eldest among them said, his face carved with lines of wisdom and warning. "But the mountain guards its secrets fiercely. The Maelstrom is but one of its mysteries, and it does not yield its truths easily." Elara nodded, her resolve unwavering. "I appreciate your concern, but my purpose is greater than the risk. The world must understand the forces that shape our climate, even if it means braving the unknown." With a respectful nod, the mountaineers stepped aside, allowing Elara to pass. They watched her ascend, a solitary figure against the vastness of nature, driven by a passion that was as much a part of her as the blood in her veins. As Elara climbed, the mountain seemed to acknowledge her presence. the wind whispering secrets in a language only she could hope to decipher. With each step, she felt closer to the answers she sought, and to the heart of the storm that beckoned her from above. Halfway up the rugged slopes of Mount Fjell, where the whispers of the past seemed to echo among the pines, stood a cabin that time had forgotten. It was here, in this haven of solitude, that Elara sought refuge from the biting wind and the weight of her thoughts. The cabin, a relic of wood and stone, belonged to an old guide known to the locals as Bjorn, his eyes, the color of the stormy sea below, held stories of a life spent in the embrace of the mountain. His past, shrouded in the mists of time, was a tapestry of triumph and tragedy. Elara knocked on the weathered door, her heart pounding with anticipation. The door creaked open, and there stood Bjorn, his gaze piercing through her like a shard of ice. "You come seeking the Maelstrom's secrets," he stated. More a fact than a question, Elara nodded, her resolve reflected in her eyes. "I need to understand its influence on our world's climate. Your experience could be invaluable." Bjorn considered her for a moment, the silence stretching between them like the vast expanse of the horizon. Finally, he stepped aside, gesturing for her to enter. The interior of the cabin was a cocoon of warmth, the air rich with the scent of burning wood. Trinkets and maps adorned the walls, each a memento of Bjorn's adventures. He motioned for Elara to sit by the fire, where the flames danced like sprites in the hearth. As the warmth seeped into her bones, Bjorn began to unravel his tale. He spoke of a time when he and his brothers, all skilled mountaineers, had faced the Maelstrom's fury. His voice, a low rumble, carried the weight of loss and the pain of memories too heavy to bear. "We were young and fearless," he recounted, his eyes distant. "The mountain was our kingdom, the storm our adversary. But the Maelstrom is no ordinary tempest. It is a beast that devours all in its path." Elara listened, captivated by the raw emotion in Bjorn's words. His story was a mosaic of human endeavor against the relentless forces of nature, a battle that had claimed the lives of his brothers and left him the sole guardian of their legacy. As the night deepened, Bjorn's cryptic warnings and profound knowledge of the mountain's whims wove a spell over Elara. She realized that the guide was more than a survivor. He was a sentinel of the mountain's secrets, a keeper of the wisdom that she sought. As Elara and Bjorn reached the mountain's peak, the sky transformed into a canvas of ominous hues. Dark clouds, pregnant with fury, rolled in from the horizon, swallowing the last vestiges of sunlight. The air grew heavy, charged with the electricity of an impending tempest. Bjorn's eyes narrowed as he surveyed the sky. "It's coming faster than I anticipated," he muttered, his voice barely audible over the rising wind. Elara felt a shiver run down her spine, not from the cold, but from the realization of what they were about to face. The guide's demeanor had shifted. The stoic mask he wore since their meeting was now replaced by a look of grim determination. "We must find shelter," he said, grabbing Elara's arm and pulling her toward a narrow ledge that led to an overhang of rock. They huddled together under the meager protection of the stone, watching as the storm unleashed its wrath upon the mountain. Lightning forked across the sky, followed by the roar of thunder that shook the ground beneath them. Elara's mind raced, trying to make sense of the patterns unfolding in the chaos. She pulled out her notebook, her hands trembling as she scribbled down observations. The guide watched her, a flicker of respect in his eyes. "You're not afraid," he observed. "I am," Elara confessed. "But fear won't help us understand or survive this." Her words were nearly drowned out by the howling wind, but Bjorn nodded in agreement. As the storm intensified, they spoke little, conserving their energy and warmth. Elara's thoughts turned to the guide's story, to the brothers he had lost to this very maelstrom. She wondered if he saw their ghosts in the storm's fury, if he heard their voices in the wind's wail. Hours passed, and the storm showed no sign of abating. Elara and Bjorn remained vigilant, knowing that at any moment, the tempest could claim them as it had so many before. But amidst the fear and the fury, Elara felt a spark of something elsey with the raw power of nature, and a burgeoning understanding of the maelstrom that had drawn her to this perilous summit. As the first light of dawn began to pierce the darkness, the storm's intensity waned. The guide stood, his silhouette etched against the lightening sky. "It's time," he said, his voice steady once more. "Time to descend into the heart of the storm." Elara rose, her resolve hardened by the night's ordeal. Together, they stepped out from their shelter, ready to face the descent and the revelations that awaited them in the eye of the maelstrom. The storm's approach had been a test, but the true challenge lay ahead. In the abyss that beckoned them onward, the storm raged outside, a relentless force of nature that shook the very foundations of the guide's shelter. Inside, Elara and Bjorn, the old guide, were enveloped in a deceptive calm, the eye of the storm a mere whisper away. Bjorn's face was illuminated by the flickering candlelight, casting long shadows that danced across the walls. He looked at Elara, his eyes reflecting a depth of sorrow and wisdom that only a life intertwined with the capricious whims of nature could bestow. "The maelstrom has taken much from me," Bjorn began, his voice a low rumble against the howling wind. "My brothers, strong and brave, were swept away without mercy." He paused, lost in the memories that seemed to haunt the very air around them. Elara listened intently, her heart heavy with the weight of Bjorn's loss. She knew the power of the maelstrom was not just a scientific curiosity. It was a force that had reshaped lives, carved stories of despair into the souls of those who dared to challenge it. Bjorn continued, "We were young, foolish perhaps, to think we could conquer the mountain, but the maelstrom is no ordinary storm. It is alive, almost sentient. It knew we were there, and it came for us with a fury I have never seen since." The guide's tale was a tapestry of human endeavor against the indomitable force of nature. He spoke of the day the storm came, how the sky turned as dark as the deepest ocean, and how the wind screamed like the cries of 1,000 lost spirits. Elara felt a chill that had nothing to do with the cold. She realized that the maelstrom was more than a climatic phenomenon. It was a legend, a keeper of stories, a testament to the enduring battle between man and nature. As Bjorn recounted the harrowing experience of watching his brothers disappear into the abyss, Elara saw a tear glisten in the corner of his eye. It was a moment of vulnerability that bridged the gap between the old guide and the young climatologist. "The maelstrom teaches us humility," Bjorn said, his voice barely above a whisper. "It reminds us that we are but fleeting moments in the grand tapestry of the universe." Elara nodded, her mind racing with questions and theories. The maelstrom was not just a subject of study, it was a teacher, a cruel, unyielding instructor that demanded respect and offered lessons in return. The storm outside seemed to listen, its fury ebbing as if giving space for the guide's story to unfold. In the heart of the tempest, within the walls of the shelter, Elara and Bjorn shared a silent understanding that transcended words. As the candle flickered its last breath and darkness enveloped them, Elara felt a resolve stir within her. She would not let the maelstrom's lessons be in vain. She would learn. She would understand, and perhaps she would find a way to coexist with the storm that had claimed so much yet offered glimpses of the profound truths of nature. The night wore on, and the storm's voice grew softer, a lullaby of wind and rain that promised a new dawn. Elara and Bjorn, two souls bound by the quest for knowledge and the respect for the maelstrom's might, waited for the morning light to guide them into the abyss and towards the revelations that lay hidden in the storm's heart. In the heart of the storm, a rare tranquility descended upon the mountain's peak. Elara and Bjorn, the seasoned guide, found themselves in the storm's eye, an ephemeral sanctuary amidst the chaos. The violent winds had subsided, and for a fleeting moment, the world seemed to hold its breath. Elara gazed at the sky, a canvas of swirling clouds parting to reveal a patch of serene blue. It was in this moment of calm that she noticed its pattern. The clouds didn't just move, they danced in a rhythm, a pattern that repeated itself with mathematical precision. Bjorn watched Elara's expression transform from concentration to awe. "You see it, don't you?" he asked, his voice a mixture of reverence and curiosity. "Yes," Elara replied, her mind racing. The maelstrom, it follows a pattern, a cycle. It's not random, it's predictable, with her instruments scattered by the storm. Elara relied on her keenest tool, her intellect. She recalled the data, the simulations, the theories she had studied for years. The maelstrom's behavior, the pressure changes, the wind speeds, all the variables began to align in her mind. Bjorn nodded, a knowing smile on his weathered face. "The mountain has its secrets, and it seems you've uncovered one of them." Elara's revelation was more than scientific discovery. It was a key to survival. If the maelstrom was predictable, they could anticipate its movements, find the right moment to descend the mountain safely. The guide's eyes shone with a mixture of pride and hope. "Your knowledge, it's a gift. You've found a way to read the mountain's mood." Together, they plotted their descent, using the pattern Elara had discerned to navigate the brief windows of calm. The storm would rage again, but now they had an advantageous glimpse into the maelstrom's very soul. As the eye of the storm began to move, the winds picked up, and the world returned to its tumultuous state. But Elara and Bjorn were ready. With a newfound understanding of the maelstrom's rhythm, they prepared to face the tempest's fury, armed with the most powerful weapon of all knowledge. The revelation had changed everything. It was a beacon of hope in the darkness, a promise that even in the face of nature's wrath, human ingenuity and perseverance could prevail. Elara's discovery was not just for her, it was a legacy for all who would dare to challenge the maelstrom in the years to come. The storm raged with renewed vigor as Elara and Bjorn prepared for the descent. The mountain, once a silent giant, now roared with the force of the tempest. They stood at the precipice, the path below a treacherous tapestry of ice and stone. Elara adjusted her gear, her mind a whirlwind of calculations and predictions. She had the pattern etched into her memory, the intervals of the storm's fury and the fleeting lulls that followed. Bjorn, with his decades of experience, could read the mountain's subtle quiescence in the wind, the crack of ice, the distant rumble of an avalanche waiting to be born. They began their descent, each step a calculated risk. The guide led, his ice axe biting into the frozen ground. Securing ropes that served as their lifeline, Elara followed, her eyes scanning the environment, her brain mapping out their path in sync with the rhythm of the maelstrom. The wind howled like a pack of wolves, the sound a constant companion as they navigated the downward slopes. Visibility was a mere few feet, the world reduced to the bubble of space around them, illuminated by their headlamps. At times, the storm's eye would pass over, granting them precious minutes of calm. They used these moments to make quicker progress, to descend as far as they could before the gales returned. Elara's revelation about the maelstrom's pattern was their guide, a beacon in the blinding snow as they moved. The mountain seemed to fight back, the ice cracking beneath their crampons. The wind attempting to sweep them off their feet, but they persisted. Their determination as unyielding as the rock beneath them. Hours passed. A relentless battle against time and nature. They were a team. The scientist and the mountaineer, their skills complementary. Their goal singularto reached the safety of lower ground before the storm unleashed its full wrath. Finally, as night began to fall, they found themselves below the storm's fiercest reach. The wind eased. The snow lessened, and the mountain's roar faded to a distant grumble. They had descended into the storm's shadow, the danger not past. But the immediate threat abated, exhausted but alive. Elara and Bjorn set up a makeshift camp. They had survived the descent. But their journey was far from over. The maelstrom still churned above, and they knew the true test of their escape was yet to come. The tempest's fury reached its zenith as Elara and Bjorn stood on the precipice where the mountain's wrath met the sea's churn. The maelstrom's roar was deafening, a cacophony of nature's unbridled power. Yet, within this chaos, Elara's mind was clear, her resolve unshaken. She had deciphered the maelstrom's rhythm, its wild dance between destruction and creation. With each pulse, the storm drew in vast amounts of air and water, only to expel them with even greater force. It was this relentless cycle that Elara sought to harness. Bjorn, ever the stoic guardian, trusted Elara's judgment. He had seen many things in his years on the mountain, but never had he witnessed such a daring plan. Together, they secured themselves with ropes. Their eyes locked on the swirling abyss below. Elara gave the signal, and they leapt. The descent was a controlled fall, a surrender to the storm's embrace. They rode the currents, a pair of human leaves caught in the gale's grasp. The maelstrom's energy was immense, a torrent that could crush them or carry them to safety. As they plummeted, Elara deployed her makeshift sail, a fabric engineered to catch the wind's power. It billowed and strained against the ropes, but held fast. The maelstrom's breath filled the sail, and suddenly, they were no longer falling, they were flying. The sea surged below, a maw of frothing waves, but Elara and Bjorn were beyond its reach. The storm propelled them outward, away from the mountain's shadow. Towards the open sea, it was a mad dash for survival. A race against the storm's appetite. Hours passed, and the maelstrom's fury waned. The winds calmed, the waves subsided, and the world grew silent once more. Elara and Bjorn, spent and soaked to the bone, found themselves adrift but alive. They had escaped the mountain's clutches, their bond with the storm forever etched into their souls. As the first light of dawn touched the horizon, a distant ship spotted their signal. Rescue was on its way. Elara's plan, born of desperation and genius, had succeeded. They had used the maelstrom's own power against it, and in doing so, had found a way through the storm. The storm had passed, leaving behind a silence that was almost deafening. The once turbulent sea now lay tranquil, its surface glistening under the morning sun. Elara and Bjorn, their bodies weary but spirits unbroken, awaited rescue on the serene coastline. As they watched the horizon, a flotilla of rescue boats appeared, cutting through the calm waters with purpose and speed. The teams aboard were swift and efficient, their practiced movements a stark contrast to the chaos of the previous night. Elara and Bjorn were hoisted aboard, wrapped in warm blankets, and given medical attention. They exchanged glances, a shared understanding passing between them without words. They had survived the maelstrom, but more than that, they had conquered it. Back on land, the story of their harrowing escape spread like wildfire. Elara's research and Bjorn's guidance had led to a feat that blurred the lines between legend and reality. They became symbols of human resilience, their tale a testament to the indomitable will to survive against all odds. In the days that followed, Elara worked tirelessly. Her experience on the mountain fueling her research, she pieced together data, analyzed patterns, and drew conclusions that would reshape the world's understanding of climatic phenomena. The guide, Bjorn, found himself a reluctant hero. His knowledge of the mountain and the storm had been crucial, and many sought his wisdom, yet he remained humble, his thoughts often returning to the brothers he had lost to the maelstrom's fury. As the sun set on the coastline, Elara stood at the water's edge. Her gaze fixed on the horizon, the storm had changed her, not just as a scientist, but as a person. She had faced nature's raw power and emerged with insights that could save countless lives in the future. The aftermath of the storm was not just about survival, it was about legacy. Elara's findings would lead to early warning systems and better preparedness for natural disasters. Her ordeal had not been in vain. It had given her a purpose that transcended her own life. And as the stars began to twinkle in the twilight sky, Elara knew that this was just the beginning. The storm had passed, but its lessons would endure, guiding humanity's quest to understand the mysteries of the natural world. Years had passed since Elara's fateful encounter with the maelstrom. The conference hall buzzed with anticipation as a crowd of aspiring scientists gathered to hear from the renowned climatologist whose work had revolutionized their field. Elara stepped onto the stage, her presence commanding yet approachable. She began to speak, her voice clear and resonant. Recounting the journey that had led her here, she spoke of the mountain, the guide, and the storm that had nearly claimed their lives. But more importantly, she spoke of the insights gained from that perilous adventure. With each word, Elara painted a vivid picture of the maelstrom's eye, the patterns it revealed, and the breakthroughs in predictive models that had followed. Her research had not only advanced the scientific community's understanding of climatic phenomena, but had also saved countless lives by improving early warning systems. The audience hung on her every word, inspired by the story of a woman who had turned a near-death experience into a legacy of knowledge and discovery. Elara's work had bridged the gap between raw data and human experience, between survival and science. As the presentation concluded, a standing ovation filled the hall. Young scientists approached, eager to learn from Elara's experiences. She answered their questions with patience and enthusiasm, knowing that her legacy would continue through the work of these passionate individuals. Elara's story had come full circle, from the summit of a mountain to the pinnacle of her career. And as she left the stage, she knew that her legacy was not just in the data and the models, but in the spirit of inquiry and resilience she had instilled in the next generation of scientists. The maelstrom's legacy, like Elara's, would endure in the annals of science and the hearts of those who dare to brave the storm.